She rudely glared at the people in the courtroom and then proceeded to break down in fake tears at her first court appearance. This woman, named Carla Garcia, allegedly killed her own 12-year-old daughter. The 12-year-old victim, Jacqueline Mimi Torres, was found in a box container in a vacant home just last week.
Evidence indicates that Jacqueline was the victim of prolonged physical abuse and malnourishment prior to her death. It is also believed that following her death, Jacqueline's body was kept in the family's basement and subsequently moved when the family relocated from Farmington in March of 2025.
Police say Carla Garcia did this with her boyfriend and her sister. She made her first appearance in Connecticut, and as you can see, she shot a hateful glance at some attendees who were all wearing shirts demanding justice for the 12-year-old before breaking down into tears that looked all fake and kind of staged. Carla Garcia was not alone in this hideous crime. According to the police, her sister was also arrested, and some of her charges include cruelty to a person under the age of 19. Another person who was arrested in connection to the case is Jonathan, who is alleged to be Garcia's boyfriend at that time. He also made his first court appearance this month and looks visibly injured. Police say Jonathan was responsible for dumping the body of the 12-year-old Jacqueline in a box at that empty house, and that prompted the neighbors to call the cops. He is also charged with accessory to murder. How did this all happen? Let's take you through the gruesome murder of 12-year-old Jacqueline Torres by her mother and family.
Investigators from the Farmington Police Department, with the assistance from the New Britain Police Department, have determined that Jacqueline likely died in the fall of 2024 while her family was still residing in Farmington. Evidence indicates that Jacqueline was the victim of prolonged physical abuse and malnourishment prior to her death. It is also believed that following her death, Jacqueline's body was kept in the family's basement and subsequently moved when the family relocated from Farmington in March of 2025.
Behind that empty house, inside a plastic storage bin, police would find the remains of Jacqueline Mimi Torres Garcia, a 12-year-old girl who'd been missing from no one's list. No Amber Alert, no desperate flyers, no parent called the police. She had simply... When detectives opened the container, they found a small body curled in on itself, decomposed beyond recognition, wrapped as if someone had tried to erase her existence. But the evidence inside told a darker story. This wasn't a sudden tragedy. This was the end of months of suffering, hidden behind closed doors. In the hours that followed, crime scene tape fluttered in the October wind. Reporters gathered, neighbors whispered, and as police pieced together who had lived in that nearby apartment, the story that began to emerge would shake the community to its core. A story of family secrets, concealed cruelty, and the system that never came knocking. 12-year-old Mimi had been homeschooled, withdrawn from the public eye, her laughter fading from classrooms where teachers once knew her name. By the time she vanished, no one outside her home even knew she was gone. Her mother, Carla Garcia, her mother's boyfriend, Jonathan Abelnanita, and her aunt, Jacqueline Garcia, were later arrested. But the bigger question remained: how does a child die unseen and stay hidden for nearly a year? In the months that followed, the truth would unravel like a badly kept secret, one basement, one lie, one missed chance at a time. This is the story of Jacqueline Mimi Torres Garcia, and it begins, not with her death, but with her silence. Before she was a headline, Mimi was just a girl, brown-eyed, shy but bright. Teachers at New Britain Elementary remembered her drawings, her polite yes ma'am, her curious questions. But by late 2023, Mimi's attendance had grown irregularly. Then one day, she stopped coming altogether. Her mother told the school Mimi would be homeschooled. The paperwork was signed, and that was that. No one would see her again. Investigators now believe Mimi's life behind closed doors was nothing like what it appeared. Police documents describe chronic abuse, malnourishment, and emotional torment that escalated as her mother's boyfriend moved in. Neighbors sometimes heard muffled shouting. Others noticed the girl's thin frame when she briefly appeared outside. But in a world where privacy is sacred, no one intervened. Inside the family's Farmington basement, prosecutors allege, Mimi's world shrank to darkness and silence. She was allegedly restrained for long periods, denied food, and beaten for reasons no one yet understands. Somewhere in that window, late 2024, she died. But her death didn't lead to a call for help. Instead, investigators say, it led to a cover-up. Her body was stored inside a container in the same basement. When the family moved to New Britain, they brought the container with them. The horror didn't end there. For nearly a year, the family lived steps away from the box that held her remains, while life outside went on. Children played, buses came and went. The world never noticed that one of its own was missing. No missing persons report, no welfare check. Because in official records, Mimi didn't exist anymore. She was homeschooled, invisible. It would take a chance discovery by local residents, a complaint about a foul odor behind a vacant home, to uncover the truth. When police opened that container, what they found told a year-long story of neglect, silence, and the limits of oversight. For detectives, one chilling realization came quickly. Mimi's death wasn't just hidden, it was administratively erased. When investigators retraced the family's life before the discovery, they followed a trail that led them to Farmington, a quiet Connecticut town where the Garcias once lived in a small rental duplex. On the surface, it looked ordinary. A modest home, trimmed lawn, curtains always drawn. But what happened inside that basement was anything but ordinary. Neighbors recalled rarely seeing Mimi outside. Once a delivery worker thought he heard crying, faint and echoing, as if coming from underground. It sounded like a little girl, he later told detectives, but it stopped when the man came out. According to investigators, that man was Jonathan Abel Nanita, the mother's boyfriend. Police affidavits allege that Nanita's presence turned the home into a chamber of fear. He was controlling, volatile, and believed in discipline through suffering. Prosecutors now say both adults inflicted severe physical abuse and deprivation, while the aunt Jacqueline Garcia allegedly assisted watching, sometimes participating, always silent. Mimi's body showed signs of prolonged starvation. There were healed fractures, untreated wounds, and marks consistent with restraints. Forensic specialists believe the abuse had been ongoing for months before her death. Sometime in late 2024, Mimi died. The family never called 911. Instead, they allegedly cleaned the scene, placed her remains into a plastic storage container, sealed it, and hid it in the basement, and there she stayed, through winter, spring, and summer. When the family later moved to New Britain, they brought the box with them. To outsiders, it looked like any other moving container. To them, it carried a secret they refused to face. That decision to hide rather than confess transformed a tragedy into a crime of concealment. It revealed something chilling, the ability to live among others while pretending a child never existed. Detectives believe the cover-up involved moving the bin behind an abandoned house several blocks away, hoping it would never be found. But decomposition has its own voice. By October 2025, nature itself revealed what the family had buried. The investigation into the basement scene uncovered bleach stains, damaged drywall, and traces of DNA. The home was sold months earlier. The new tenants never knew what the walls had witnessed. When police finally confronted Carla Garcia, she reportedly said only one thing: "I didn't know what else to do." But silence, the detectives would later say, was also a choice. The morning the box was found, New Britain police were responding to what seemed like a routine call, a bad smell behind a vacant property on High Street. But what they uncovered within minutes turned into one of Connecticut's most haunting child abuse cases. Inside the blue-gray storage bin, wrapped in plastic and layers of tape, were the remains of a child. The autopsy would later confirm it was Jacqueline Mimi Torres Garcia, age 12. She had been dead for almost a year. Detectives fanned out to locate the former occupants of a nearby apartment complex. Within 48 hours, they zeroed in on Carla Garcia, her sister Jacqueline, and her boyfriend Jonathan Nanita. When confronted, their stories didn't align. Carla claimed Mimi got sick and stopped breathing. Nanita said she ran away. Jacqueline said she didn't want to be involved. Their arrests came swiftly. Carla Garcia and Nanita were charged with murder with special circumstances, conspiracy, and tampering with evidence. Jacqueline Garcia faced charges of cruelty to a child, unlawful restraint, and risk of injury to a minor. Their bonds totaled $11 million combined. The news spread fast. Candlelight vigils appeared across New Britain. Balloons, teddy bears, and photos of Mimi covered the sidewalk where she was found. Children her age stood silently, holding signs that read, "You were seen, you mattered." Reporters pressed officials for answers. How did a child vanish without anyone noticing? Why didn't the Department of Children and Families intervene? It turned out the agency had prior contact with the family years earlier, but no active case when Mimi disappeared. She'd been marked homeschooled, effectively removing her from the system's oversight. Community outrage grew louder. Lawmakers began calling for reforms in Connecticut's homeschooling policies, arguing that it had become a loophole for hiding abuse. Detectives worked overtime to reconstruct the timeline: the move from Farmington, the storage of the remains, the relocation to New Britain, and the final disposal. Each new discovery deepened the public's disbelief. Today, months after the arrests, Connecticut is still haunted by a single question: how could this happen? Jacqueline Mimi Torres was not invisible by nature. She was made invisible, removed from school, sealed off from society, stripped of a paper trail. In a system built to protect children, her erasure was bureaucratic: a missing signature, an unchecked box, a line of trust never verified. In New Britain, the abandoned house still stands. The grass has grown tall again. The memorial candles have melted into the ground, their wax mixed with autumn rain. For neighbors who watched the investigation unfold, the smell is gone, but the memory isn't. Inside courtrooms, lawyers argue over who bears the greater guilt. Prosecutors allege deliberate torture. Defense attorneys claim panic and poor judgment. Forensic evidence, the bones, the fibers, the cleaning chemicals, speaks louder than any confession. The Department of Children and Families has opened an internal review. Lawmakers are proposing new legislation requiring regular welfare checks on homeschooled children. Journalists continue to ask why warning signs weren't recognized earlier. Yet, for all the reports and hearings, the truth feels simple and terrible. A child died because no one saw her suffering. Mimi's case is now a symbol, a mirror reflecting every moment adults looked away. Her face has appeared in news graphics, court sketches, and advocacy posters urging reform. In death, she has become the voice she never had in life. For her community, the wound is fresh. Her teachers remember her laughter. Classmates, now teenagers, post tributes online. A mural in her honor reads, "Her light deserved the world." But perhaps the most haunting part of Mimi's story is not how she died, it's how easily she was forgotten until it was too late. In the end, behind every report, every charge, and every press conference lies the echo of one small truth: someone should have knocked.